Florida. It is state tournament week. I am here with Jake Campbell. Jake, how are things going?
Things are good, man. A big week for the boys and the girls. It's going to be exciting times down in Kissimmee.
Yeah. I know you've been away from the mat a little bit, but I mean, what was this week like, kind of prepping the kids, getting ready?
When I coached, right? I mean,
Yeah,
yeah. When we just focused on us. I mean, that's the only thing you can control anyway, right? Just focus on your prep. What you've done all year. I mean, we had such a good run at Tampa Prep with state champs and all that. We just focused on us. I know a lot of times people freak out about the bracket. We'll always complain that they should seed this thing and all this other stuff, but control the controllables, and that's all we did. And so we just prepped like it was just another day.
yeah. So, one of the things that I found really interesting is I've written fans guides for all these, and one of the things that I always kind of I come back to, obviously the team races are really interesting. You look at kind of the youth movement and some of the classifications. We'll talk about that. But one of the things that always stuck with me, and I know you had some studs at Tampa Prep, so maybe you didn't encounter this as much, but the kids who have come in who are seniors who have been on the podium but have never won a title before. Did you have any of those? And what was kind of the message to those kids?
Yeah, I mean, we had one that really sticks out for me, and you probably remember him. He was our 113 pounder, Ben Bueller,
Yeah.
right? He was a kid that was probably picked by you guys to win it 2 years in a row, and it just didn't work. And then his senior year, we got it to all come together. And I don't think he was actually picked to win it that year. I think the LHP, I think it was Waltman was picked to win it, and then he wrestled him in the finals and win it. So yeah, I mean, you always have that senior that you want to end it right? That's all you think about. Let's just end this thing right. And he was the one that sticks out the most.
Yeah, well, and we're gonna talk about some brackets here in a little bit where there's gonna be a lot of seniors, and there's only one spot.
Yeah.
There's only one opportunity to be on the top step. So, man, I feel the pressure. I mean, I know I coached several kids that it was very heartbreaking when when that kind of came to an end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's tough, man. I think you just you touched on it. It's heartbreaking, but listen, if you've prepared the right way, win or lose, you just you accept the result. And this sport teaches you life lessons too, right? And so there's always something to take from it. Some of the kids I know that didn't win state titles for us are doctors, lawyers, and just fabulous humans. And a lot of
Right.
them talk about wrestling being a main reason why. I actually, funny you bring that up about seniors. I follow a lot of wrestlers on LinkedIn, things like that. They're all, a lot of them that when I coach are now entering the workforce. And Alex Uri, who wrestled for St. Thomas Aquinas, one of the things he posted on his LinkedIn was, he was always favored to win it, and he got knocked off by one of those freshmen his senior year by the name of Kyle Nordstrom. And so it's kind of one of those things, right? It's just but he talked about just where his life is now, and he thanked wrestling from it. And the picture he posted was him laying on the mat, and it's Kyle flexing, and so it's just
Yeah.
amazing to see that. I tell anyone, if you follow, if you're in the workforce or not, check out LinkedIn, go to Alex Uri. It's a gut wrenching. I remember watching that match, and so it struck a chord with me this morning just seeing it.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I'm going to touch very quickly on this before we jump into one of these classifications, and that is we're talking about some seniors, but not high school seniors. You're going to be at EIWAs this weekend,
Yep.
cheering on and watching some of your former kids who are now seniors compete up there.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, we're going to go up to EIWAs. Obviously, a lot of people, put Tampa Prep and myself and Andy Bricker, who coached there with Anthony Artolona, right? And so he'll be trying to win his second EIWA title. Won one as a freshman. Obviously, being at Penn, they lost a couple COVID years. Took second last year to Yanni Diakomahalis, and
Slack.
he'll be he'll be in he'll be in the mix this year. But not only that, I'm excited to just see a lot of the Florida kids who are in the IWA. That'll be Malik Hines, Leo Tarantino, Jack Crook, just kind of the who's who of the last 5-10 years of Florida wrestling. And so I'm excited to see all those guys, try to punch their ticket to Tulsa.
All right. Yeah. So that's going to be exciting for you. I will be in Kissimmee. It's going to be a blast down there. Just so everybody knows, Jake and I are going to break down each of the brackets, but this is a general intro that I'm going to then splice on top of us having a conversation about one of these groups. So stick with us. If you tuned in for the girls, 1A, 2A, 3A, it'll start in a second. Jake, you ready to get started on one of these?
Let's rock, man. All
right, man. We are here to talk 3A in the state of Florida this weekend. And I would you agree with me that this is probably the easiest team race to pick?
Yeah, I think so. I'm more in. I mean, obviously, South Dade's got to be the favorite, right? By quite a bit. They're bringing all 14, I believe, for the
and like 9 champs or something.
Yeah.
So one for every ring,
Yep. And I'm more curious about the runner-up. You got Osceola with some studs. You got Southwest that packs a punch with what they're bringing. So I'm more curious if Osceola can sneak out the runner-up with. I think they only get 7, 8 kids, right? Something like that.
Yeah, they're bringing 7 kids, 3 champs. Obviously, the H's, Haas, Holland, and Heap are going to get you points.
Yep.
Right. But so Southwest also brings 7.
Right.
So, but I don't know that they have the horses that Osceola has.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, I'm just curious about that runner-up race. I think Osceola should be runner-ups, and I don't know if there's another one in there that I'm not thinking of. I think those are your top 3: Dade, Osceola, Southwest. I think I agree with you. South Dade or Osceola has the 3 horses, and I think that'll matter.
Yeah, no doubt. So one of the things that I was really interested about when I was looking at 3A and writing up this fans guide was the fact that we have so few freshmen in this group. Like, except for EJ Sola, I think there were 2 freshmen in 3A last year who made the podium. EJ Solis for South Dade and Dylan Lopez from Miami Braddock at 106. That was it. That was all the freshmen in 3A. Man, that is tough.
I think obviously it's the biggest class, right? And so, I said, last week there was some debate, on one of the rooms on Facebook or something about, the toughest region. And I always say it's 3A4 down in Miami. And the reason I say that is just they got so many schools, so many kids. And traditionally, they really good kids don't even make it out of that region, and and that's not taking anything from any, I think the debate is 3A2, right, with Osceola.
Well, and last year 3A2 had 10 champs, so right. But top heavy versus depth. I mean,
that and so and then I kind of looked at, obviously last year was the first year, I believe, with 7th and 8th place, right? So that wasn't a thing, 2 years ago. But traditionally, in my opinion, 3A4 is just hard to get out of, man. And I always feel like that's the region where you watch out for the 4s, right? The person who took a 4th place in that region, if they catch those are the guys who catch a champ early. That you just traditionally, I mean,
yes, historically, that's what we see. No doubt. So actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because as we go through this and we get the favorites, if you see a 4 that is potentially problematic, make sure you yell that out. Make sure you let us know. Also, any interesting matchups and things along those lines. Let's jump to 106 pounds. You watched Andrew Punsalon win the knockout from Cypress Bay. He's a senior at 106. So is Nathaniel Overman from Bloomingdale. He's a senior, also a state placer. Those 2 are the 2 that kind of stand out to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's them 2 in the finals. But Ponzalon, man, I watched him at knockout.
So long for a 6-pounder.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you shoot in on him, I mean, he just gives himself so much distance. He's just, and he's a senior at 106. I mean, that matters too. He's a big, strong kid. That compared to some of these other kids, that's, yeah, you go to knockout and you win it. You've been in some tough matches, and I think that'll matter.
All right, jump into 113. This is interesting. Region 4, Frederick Mitchum, who is a returning state placer, at least I know he beat Tellez, but he finished in front of Christian Vasquez, who was a state runner-up, Jaramillo from South Dade, who was fourth, who's tough. And then you've got Tyler Washburn in there as well. I mean,
Yeah,
this is a good weight.
that's a great weight. I personally like Washburn. I'm pretty familiar with them. Um, Tough kid, really good. I mean, he's just tough kid, man. I like watching him wrestle. Really nice kid too, and so I'm a big fan of kids who are not only great wrestlers, there's nice kids as well. But
He does pull a tough opening round match though.
yes, that's what I was gonna say, right? So this goes back to that 3A Region 4. This guy's a South Dade kid. That's one to keep an eye on, and then he's got a tough semis too with Mitchum. And so I think Washburn is a two-timer when we're done here or three-timer. Sorry, Tyler, three-timer.
I think he's a three-timer. I think he's won it twice.
Can't remember. I thought two, but you might be right.
I'm pretty sure he was a three-timer. Actually, I can look it up real quick. So in last year he won it. 2 years ago he won 2A 106 over Christian Vasquez.
Okay. All right.
So if he wins again this year, and then his freshman year, I think he won it, or he didn't win it, but he was a placer. So
Right.
yeah, he's been all over the podium. All right, jump into 120. Washburn is your pick or your favorite at 100.
Yeah, I like Washburn coming through.
All right, so 120 pounds. We've got some really interesting wrestlers here. Blaine Toronto, Luis Acevedo, Sam Marvel, some good wrestlers in the group. None of them, I don't believe, have been to the state finals before. So this is going to be a new experience for whoever ends up there.
I like Taranto, man. I like him. I like he's tough, he's gritty. Probably wrestled the most exciting third place match in the history of the FHSA tournament last year when he beat the I can't remember, but the Gators.
Palm Beach Gardens.
Palm Beach Gardens. And so I like Taranto. Saw him at knockout. He's big 20-pounder too.
He is a big 20-pounder. He is big.
He reminds me of an old school 20-pounder, which is just long, rangy, and just I don't know. I don't want to get into
Well, this is going to be a heck of a compliment to Blaine, but he reminds me of Chris Hayward or Andy McGann back in the day. Really tall, so that was when I wrestled, and Chris was just he was just tall and lanky. He was tough. So that's a heck of a compliment to Blaine. And yeah, they have a similarity. At least I agree with you.
I like him and Acevedo in the final. I'm a lean Taranto, but man, again, South Dade at the state tournament, they just seemed, yeah, exactly.
I mean, look, Balmaceda should have the team that's going to kind of just blow through this year. But in years past, one of the things that they always seem on this week, this just seems, they seem on the ability to come and compete at this level. They kind of rise to the occasion. I couldn't agree with you more in that, that's, it plays a role. I mean, and when your whole team is doing that, it's got some momentum going.
I agree.
All right, so 126 pounds. This is a match, or this is one that I'm really interested in as far as you picking a favorite, because we got Colin Bradshaw, who's a returning state champion, who beat Fugman in the finals last year. But man, Fugman, we saw him at the freaking knockout. He looked super good. Not to discount anybody else in the bracket. Nathaniel Williams and others are super good as well. But who would you pick as your favorite here?
I'm pretty familiar with Bradshaw before he took off for Jersey. He
Mhm.
with us at Tampa Prep. Tough kid, gritty kid. Always liked him. Techniques off the charts. Vugman saw him at knockout. Another tough kid. I'm gonna say Bradshaw gets it done again in the final. I think it's them two in the final. Ethan Vugman, I like you a lot, man. I think you're a stud. I got to make a pick.
Yeah, no,
Don't hate.
you do. Or at least you don't have to make a pick. You have to give a favorite, but I'm with you. All right. So jumping to 132 pounds. The name that kind of stands out as we look down the list is on the line 16 with Danny Martinez, Southwest Miami. He's been at Southwest, then went up to Lake Highland Prep for a short period of time, now back at Southwest. Lost to Cooper Hawes at least once in the semifinals. I don't know if he's lost more than that. Not to discount Liddy from Buchholz or Ray Ortiz, other good wrestlers, Frank Font from what is Strawberry Crest? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but Danny Martinez is the name that kind of stands out.
Yeah, I think we're getting, in my opinion, right, the finals match in the semis. It's with Ortiz and Martinez right on the same side. I Frank Font, Tampa kid, right, goes to Strawberry Crest last like 3 or 4 weeks of the season. I think he won like live Greco or George Jenkins and was like most valuable wrestler. Been on an absolute tear. Familiar with him. Used to pop in the club with his sister Jackie Font, who's at Life, and they're doing a great job. And I love that he's on this super tear. And so I like Font getting to the final, and then getting to the state finals, and then but I think Martinez is the guy.
All right. So let's jump to 138, where again we look down the list. We got Nicholas Romero, who is sitting there, returning state champ, I believe. You got McAllister, Kendrick. You also have EJ Solis down there, South Dade. And Romero and Solis on the same side of the bracket.
Yeah. Romero's from here at Tampa as well. Obviously, we talked about Solis a little bit earlier when we were talking about his brother. Interesting match there in the semis. I'm real curious. So Romero's a caveman kid, right? And if you're familiar with caveman, that's Mike Joyce. I guarantee you, Mike Joyce has him in the room right now, drawing up the perfect game plan. And so keep that in mind. It'll be interesting to see what happens in that match. Man, Solis.
You don't have to make a pick. Just tell me who the favorite is.
Well, you would think Romero is the returning state champ, right? He's got to be the favorite.
Okay. You want to make a pick now? Are you going against your favorite? Or I don't want to put you on the spot. I just ask you.
I'm a match.
Oh, I think you went out. I think you bleeped out. Like what happened? What did you say?
I can't wait to see that match.
All right, that's perfect. I totally get it. All right, so let's jump up to 3A 145. So you got Anderson Heat, who is a returning state champ in the bracket. James Gonzalez, younger brother of Joe Gonzalez, up there on the top line. Hayden and Misha Arbos. So Arbos gave Heat all he could handle at state duels. All he could handle. So I think your favorite's Heat.
Right.
But it's not a foregone conclusion that the returning state champ's going to win. I mean, there's tough wrestlers in this bracket.
Yeah, I agree. I still like Heat, man. I like Heat personally. He's obviously the favorite. I watched that match with him and Arbos, and it'll be fun. That'll be a fun one, right? And so hopefully they both end up there. I think they're the two best kids in the bracket, obviously.
Yeah.
Kissimmee Cowboy gets it done in Kissimmee.
All right. So moving up to 152, I assume you're going to go with another cowboy again. And for those people who don't know, Cooper Haas is going for his fourth state title. That would put him in some fairly elite company in the state of Florida, particularly in 3A, where I don't think he wrestled his eighth grade year at a prep school or anything. So
You go 4 for 4.
he's batting pretty damn good.
Yeah.
That said, and this is where again I'm frustrated by the situation. Not to take anything away from anybody on the top side of the bracket, but Gavin Balmaceda has wrestled Cooper fairly tough, and yet he draws him in the semifinals. How big of a favorite is Cooper?
I think Gavin keeps it close, right? You know, he's gonna have to wrestle like mistake free for 6 minutes, and I think that's really hard to do against Cooper, who's just super active. I mean, I think between him and Sawyer Bartelt, they're pound for pound probably the two best, right? I think our state has to offer right now. You can make a case for some other guys maybe at Lake Highland, but I think those are the two. And again, he's gonna have to wrestle mistake free, but he is a Balmaceda, and they do well, at the state tournament, and I know Dad will have him coached up.
100%. And you watch their matches, it's gotten closer. I mean, Gavin's getting closer. I just don't know. Like you said, he's got to wrestle mistake free, and that's going to be pretty hard to do. So, yeah. All right. So jumping to 160 pounds, you got Camden Harrison on the top line. You got Cordell White from South Dade, who shares the top side with him. Joseph Kutita, is that how you say it?
Yeah, from Palm Harbor. Yeah,
Palm Harbor. Okay. Yeah, and then and then you've got a Harmony kid at the bottom, and Palotico. Not 100% sure how to say it. But again, one of the names in this group that is not a region champ is Adrian Ochoa from Southwest Miami, who is super tough as well. I'm sorry.
He's nails. He's tough.
Yeah, he is. So this is an interesting weight. Are you going Cordell White, who feels like the favorite, or are you going with somebody else?
Yeah, I like Cordell as the favorite. Katita's tough too, man. I like him a lot. I mean, he's big at that weight too. I think you get Ochoa, Katita in the semis. I think I'm with you. I think Ochoa, with all due respect, probably comes through and upsets the region champ down there. But I like Cordell White.
Gotcha. All right. I just brought up Ochoa's name because I mean he's been everywhere. He's wrestled.
Yeah, he's tough, man.
He is tough.
I bet he's got 8 losses. Probably 4 of them are to Cordell White, just given that they wrestle so many times, So
yeah. Although Cordell has been on the shelf a little bit, so I don't know if they've wrestled quite as many times as they normally would, but 100% with you. All right. So at 170 pounds, you've got some interesting, again, in this weight, you've got Roman Garcia, who beat, I think, Gunnar Holland last weekend. You've got Cooper Patton, Lawrence Rosario, Alan Rivera. Interesting. But, your returning state champ at the weight is Holland. And he just seems to wrestle great at state tournaments.
It puts it together, man. And some kids are like that. I mean, they just all of a sudden they get there and, it's just getting them there, right? You're just trying to get them there. You get them there. And then once they get there, they're fine, and Gunnar seems like, listen, he's 48-4. He's wrestled good. He's in the knockout finals. They've gone up to Escape the Rock up in Pennsylvania, and so I would assume.
Yeah, but he does have a loss. He comes in with a loss in the region finals. Does that make Roman Garcia the favorite, or not necessarily?
I mean, he beat him last weekend, right? And so Garcia is probably the favorite. But I like Gunnar Holland to win the damn thing.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Don't hate me, Blaine Eisen.
And you know what? He has your number, right? I'll make sure he gets it.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm getting ready to talk about 182. And in the lead up to 182, I'm looking at this bracket. It's super small print and everything else, and I I missed the returning state champion in the bracket, Dominic Joyce. In fact, I think that that Jake was a little surprised that I didn't mention his name before that. He kind of rolled with it, but he did bring him up. Totally my fault. That region champ on that line number 9, I think it's 9, 10. 10 always confuses me because I usually think of it being on line number 9, and that's what I was looking at. So apologies to Dominic Joyce, who, if you read the fans guide, is who I have as the favorite. But we jump into talking a little bit about the potential semifinal match between Joyce and Weidler in what should be a fantastic match. Again, sorry about that, and hope you enjoy the rest of the conversation I have with Jake. And also, just to let everybody know, it gets a little. We had a little bit of technical problems kind of moving forward with some of the weights here at the end of 3A. So if you hear a cut and so on and so forth, it was me trying to splice some things together. All right, 182 pounds. The name that stands out to me, and I'm going to mention all the region champs, with Hunter Tate from Haggerty. You got, is it Ian Wolski? Is that how I say the name?
Yeah,
from Jupiter. Yeah. St. Pierre. But Zach Weidler wrestled super tough at the knockout. We watched him wrestle a fantastic tournament. Who sticks out at 182 pounds?
Wielder sticks out for me. He reminds me, I don't know if you remember Detweiler from Fleming Island.
Fleming Island, yeah.
Kind of reminds me of the same type of kid, just super good in the pocket. Kind of not flashy or fancy, but he's just in the right place at the right time. And he's just sort of that stocky, come forward build as well. That semis match with him and Joyce is going to be interesting, though, because Joyce is tough as well. Dominic Joyce, I think, isn't he a returning state champ?
Yeah, he's a returning state champ.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to me.
So yeah, I was interested to see if you were going to pick the favorite as the returning state champ or Weidler. Now I haven't seen Joyce. We didn't see him at the knockout, so I don't know kind of his competition compared to kind of the others. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Wielder. That's what I'm gonna go with. Personally, I became sold there. I like the way he wrestles. Just not flashy, no emotion on his face either, no matter if it's going good or bad. And some of those guys kind of scare you a little bit, but I like him, man. I think that's the guy.
Do we again think that this would be another case where you would like to see the state tournament seeded because you would have Joyce and Weidler opposite of one another?
Yeah, we can talk about seeding the tournament at some point. Yeah, I mean, listen, I always think I think it's important. I would like for it to be seeded, even if you just see the region champs and be done with it, right? I think if you get too far down, you're going to have the longest seed meeting of all time. And anyway, you're never going to make anyone happy. But yes, I would have preferred those guys on the opposite side of the bracket.
All right, so jumping 295 pounds. I think your returning state champ, just like Joyce was before, is now on the bottom side with Ansel Cervantes from South Dade. You got Roberts there, who's unbeaten, but again, I haven't seen him, so I don't really know.
At Vero Beach?
Yeah, I think that's who that is. I can confirm that for you if you want me to.
Security.
Yes, that is Vero Beach.
Florida, we got schools popping up left and right. You never know, man. So.
Oh no, I know, and you know what? Sometimes these abbreviations don't always.
Jason, did I lose you?
You there?
No.
All right, so let's pop to 195.
Yep.
And your returning state champ, just like at 182, is on the bottom side. Dominic Joyce at 182. Now it's Ansel Cervantes from South Dade. We've got John Roberts, who shares that side from Vero Beach.
Yep.
Jomar Sanchez, Casey Nichols. Good bracket. but your defending state champ is there. Is he your favorite at 195 or is somebody else?
He's my favorite. I like Cervantes from South Dade.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
Keep
Yeah.
it easy.
Keep it simple. Although, it's tough when, you see like Wheatler in the last one and, he shares the same side as returning state champ. So that's tough. All right.
Yeah.
So jump into 220. I think you said it earlier, and I don't want to belabor the point, but probably one of your biggest favorites in 3A, maybe even in the entire building, is Sawyer Bartell.
Yep. I mean, he's a man among boys. I mean, I don't think he's given up a takedown. I don't think he's gotten a loss in his high school career yet. I mean, the Iowa State commit, Kevin Dresser was in town, last weekend at the region tournament, and so it's Sawyer by a mile. Sorry, and that's no disrespect to anybody.
Yeah. All right. So Sawyer Bartelt is your 220 favorite. Might be the biggest favorite in the building, not only in 3A, but in any classification. Cooper might take some exception to that, Cooper Hawes. But like I was saying, we've been having a few technical difficulties, but hopefully this gets spliced together and we'll come across okay in the future, or whatever. We're going to finish up 3A with a look at the 285s, the heavyweights. It's an interesting bracket in that the names that stand out to me off the top are Austin Foy from Palmetto Ridge, who was ranked at one point in time nationally. Nelson Toro from Harmony has had a super good season, returning state placer. Get Derek Hart down there. I don't know how to say the Timber Creek kid's name. Peter.
What's it called, Peter?
National. Anyway, so how do you see 285 playing out? Who's your favorite here?
I would believe, Foy on paper is definitely the favorite. Man, I'd say Foy's the favorite. Man, I don't know much about that Columbus kid. But again, you kind of come out of that region. I always feel like Columbus has a couple monsters every once in a while that, I see a 285 heavyweight from Columbus, and all I think is he just got out of football, was deep in the state tournament, and he's a problem from somebody, and so I don't know anything about the kid. It's just on paper, that's what I think, just from knowing the area a little bit.
So I'll tell you this, and this is what I do know. Let me see. So I know Hart was, let's see, last year he took 6th. 2 years ago, he was 4th. So it's not as if he is not familiar with being on the podium in Kissimmee. That said, Nelson Toro has had a hell of a year. So that looks like a really interesting bottom semi potential.
Yeah, I just did a quick look. This guy looks like a monster, plays defensive tackle for Columbus. So kind of with that, I had no idea until I just looked. I'm gonna go just out on a limb, right? Dark horse or Brack. I mean, I'm gonna say Derek Hart. I just feel like Columbus, Miami defensive tackle kind of looks like a monster. It's just, Foy's the favorite. Hart's my pick.
All right. All right. So let's pull it all full circle back around. We talked about it at the beginning. We don't need to belabor the point as far as South Dade. They are definitely the favorites coming in. There's a lot of seniors who haven't won a state title up to this point. This is their last chance. I mean, how big of a deal is that for them kind of walking in for their final time?
Yeah, listen, it's tough, man. You want to end it right? Everyone wants to do that. You want to go out on your terms, your right way, and every kid has thought, if I don't they hadn't won it yet. My senior year, I'm going to win it. I'm going to win it, you know, and some rise to the occasion, some that pressure builds, and we see some kids, you know, I've been there enough. I've seen seniors that you expected to make it just fell apart, you know, just because they put so much undue pressure on themselves. So it matters. I mean, it'll be interesting to see some of these. There's a lot of like you said, I think 3A is notorious for that, just because of the depth there. I think the older guys, it's just tough, man. You know, you're trying to win it, and it's just a deep 3A is just so deep.
Yeah. All right. So that is 3A from Jake Campbell. Jake, I appreciate the time, man. And anyone who's interested, be sure to check out the girls 1A or 2A. And we want to wish you guys the best of luck this weekend as all of you participate in Silver Spurs Arena and make a run for state title. Jake, I appreciate that.
I appreciate you.